A tweet gone viral saying that San Francisco is not, in fact, a leftist communist nightmare, but in fact a right-wing technocratic dystopian nightmare with a veneer of superficial progressivism, not so thinly veiling far-right ultra-capitalist social Darwinism. Whoa, whoa, whoa. San Francisco, hold on. I see a lot of people are looking at this tweet and they're laughing, saying, are you nuts? San Francisco is super far left. No, actually, this tweet's more correct than it isn't. I wouldn't call San Francisco far-right ultra-capitalist. I guess it depends on your understanding of what left and right means, and there's no real shared understanding of what the word means anymore, because left and right can mean everything or anything. Right could be cultural, it could be economic, but the point is, no, Lydia XZ Brown Esquire is actually more correct than incorrect. California is in no way a leftist communist nightmare. It's something different. Now, they do enact a lot of leftist policies. They do have a lot of leftist ideology. But I think what you actually see from California is a kind of degeneracy, a breakdown due to prosperity. It's almost like, you know, there's a word I want to use that YouTube will ban me for using, okay? But basically, it's kind of like a growth of exploitative individuals who put on a veneer of superficial progressivism, not so thinly veiling ultra-capitalism. I don't think it's fair to say far-right, because I don't think the people in San Francisco are like traditionally or economically far-right. California is actually, I would say policy-wise, leans a little to the left, but is mostly dominated by this. The response says, we Chicagoans refer this as lakefront liberals, supporting leftist causes as long as it's not in front of their condo or BMW. What California really is the epitome, the concentration of superficial social justice, selfishness, and it's what we see in a lot of countries, actually. It's very similar to what I saw in Sweden. They claim to not be racist. They're pretty racist. They claim to want to fight for the poor, but not in my backyard. I wouldn't call San Francisco communist. I would call it a dystopian nightmare where all of the people who are grifters, who exploit the system, who sell snake oil, use this place as their base to extract resources from the rest of the world and pretend like they're the good guys, but they're actually more of a drain on our society. See, you have the massive VC function of the tech industry in San Francisco. You have a housing crisis, you have a homeless crisis, you have feasts in the street, you have drug abuse, you have rampant taxes. It's everybody clawing to get whatever they can. There's no community. So I certainly wouldn't call it communist, and I wouldn't call it far right. What it really is selfishness and narcissism epitomized. It's the people who want to say whatever they have to say to get things from other people, but in no way do they care about anyone. Let me show you some stories to back up this claim. So first, I wanted to highlight this tweet. I think it's funny. It's actually leaning towards being correct, because I guess, you know, far right, left, whatever's an opinion. But no, it's true that there's a lot of progressive insanity in California. But think about this. Bernie Sanders said open borders was a Koch brothers proposal. It used to be the Democrats who voted for border security, and it was the industrialists who wanted open borders. Now it's California. Just because they claim to be progressive doesn't mean they really are. I don't think it's fair to say far right, but social Darwinism also kinda. Like, you think they're doing anything for the poor? Come on. Check this out. From The Intercept in August. Twitter helped Chinese government promote disinformation on regression of Uyghurs. Twitter? You think Twitter cares? Twitter doesn't care. Twitter enacts policies that are biased against conservatives. Fact. Are they doing it because the people who run the company are leftist? No. Their employees are probably to an extent leftist, communist-y, and like ideologically left, sure. But these people in California mostly do it. The employees, I don't think they actually believe half the stuff, which is my biggest criticism of the SJWs, is that they pretend to earn points. And a lot of the people that do push this stuff are authoritarians. But the people at Twitter who run the business are doing it because they want that sweet, sweet green. Think about it. Conservatives are dangerous. The media is dominated by, you know, progressives and leftists and tribalists and narcissists. The real problem, I see, is that you take a look at the conservative community and they're more than willing to excise the grifters. Not all of them. There's a decent amount that I roll my eyes. They say whatever they think conservatives want to say, and I'm like, and they got a ton of followers, okay? It's a fact. Right-wing grifters are a thing. But when it comes to the worst of the worst, conservatives excise bad actors, racists, bigots. They do. The left doesn't. As we've seen from that, chart I've shown a million times now, how the left has gone crazy, this is what happens. You end up with purity testing, fake tribal nonsense of a bunch of people who just really want power. That's what it's all about. So when it comes to, I don't know, calling out China over their mistreatment of the Uyghurs, what does Twitter do? Twitter helps the Chinese government promote disinformation. Yeah, wonderful. And now we can see the bigger story. President Trump tweets video to bash SF homeless crisis and CA lawmakers. You see, California is a disaster zone. But you know what's really scary? They say that California is our future. So the reason why I wanted to highlight that opening tweet is because it is a dystopian nightmare. It's going to be our futuristic dystopian nightmare. California is what is to come for the rest of us. Sorry, that's just a fact. Now I want to read the story about what Trump said, but I want to highlight California salon owner welcomes a Trump intervention on the growing homelessness crisis after the president accused the state of incompetence and insisted they should politely ask for his help. California isn't leftist communist, okay? There's a lot of people there who pretend to be, and I think that's the important difference between what it really means to be on the left and what it means to be whatever California is. This is the big issue I've taken with many of the leftists. It's why I like Yang and Tulsi and why I criticized Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders is pandering and he's flip-flopping and he's saying why people don't know what it's like to be poor. It seems like he's lying. He's playing this game. Now, of course, there are a lot of people who think Bernie is more honest than most politicians, and that's true, but I don't like that idea. Tulsi is flip-flopped a little bit on some issues, but for the most part, I think she's been honest. And Yang, I think, has been, rather honest. I don't think they're right. But it's not so much an issue of policy. It's an issue of, on the conservative side, I see a lot of people who genuinely believe they're right and genuinely want to do things for the good of their community. In California, there is no community. It's people pretending to care about things so they can earn brownie points from another person, get them to buy a product, and they can walk away. Let me put it this way. It's a weird paradox. The conservatives are staunch individualists for the most part, but do believe in protecting the community, notably America, for instance. California pretends to be communal, but they act with nothing but self-interest. They claim to be collective, but come on, they tear each other apart, and they don't care about any of the people sleeping in their own feces on the streets of San Francisco. SF is an oligarchy. It is massive wealth disparity, the ultra poor sleeping in the trash, and the super rich atop their ivory towers, implementing the laws and using this weird progressive dogma to pretend to be the good guys, when in fact they don't care about anybody. It's like when I was talking to Jack Dorsey on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was like, oh, well, these people are at risk, so we're going to protect them. I'm like, you don't care about anybody else. There's tons of groups that are at risk. You only care about this one because the media complained about it. You're only doing this to protect your bottom line. Your worldview is built upon whatever you have to do to get what you want. And these people in media, people in media are narcissists, I'll tell you what. And in San Fran, use this idea of leftism as a cudgel to attack anyone who dare oppose them. And you know what? For the longest time, a lot of progressives were more than happy to jump on board with them, and you reap what you sow. So I think it's funny that this Lydia individual would say, it's not really a leftist communist thing. Okay, fine. But you have to recognize that there have been many progressives and socialists who have sat back and allowed these the oligarchs of San Francisco to implement their insane corporatist policy, which resulted in them helping China. It's mind-blowing to me that you'll have these big corporations. Yes, you want to say far right? That's why I think the tweet's funny. You look at what Twitter and Facebook and Google does. They're not left-wing. They have this thin veneer of progressivism so they can trick the left into supporting them and saying, but my private business. And this is what really, really frustrates me about the whole thing and why I like that tweet. The tweet is right, mostly. I wouldn't call it far right, but here's the thing. Twitter wants money. Google wants money. They use the left as a shield because they know the left is safer. They know the media will side with them if they side with the left, and then they turn around and do this. Twitter helped Chinese government promote disinformation on repression of Uyghurs. Thank you, Twitter. And what about Google? Google is doing a bunch of things in censoring political information, including the LGBT community. And the left, for too long, stood side by side and said, but my private business. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. Maybe you're supporting technocratic dystopian oligarchs in a disgusting city riddled with feces, and perhaps Trump does need to go in and figuratively, knock a few buildings down. You know what, man? I'm going to say something bold. If Donald Trump came out and said he was going to antitrust all of these big tech companies, that would be the strongest case for me voting for the man. However, right now we got Elizabeth Warren. Now, Andrew Yang has taken the position that, you know, sometimes because it's a monopoly isn't the issue. Like, who wants to use Bing? And he's got a good point. But these companies have too much power. I don't know what the solution is. And I kind of feel like after they started banning journalism and they're doing shit like, that doesn't count as swearing, YouTube. That doesn't count. I said shh. I didn't say the full word. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble. Anyway, the point is, I can't even swear. You see what the problem is? But no. Swearing is a choice. You know, I'm trying to make this family friendly. But anyway, the issue is these companies will do whatever it takes to get money. YouTube will ban things that make no sense because they're scared of the press. And this shows you that it's not about protecting any communities. It's about protecting their bottom line. There are a bunch of authoritarian narcissists who pretend to be on the left, who pretend to be for social justice. I don't necessarily trust this Lydia person because a lot of people on the left claim to be for the left when they're not. The simple answer is this. They're authoritarians and they're narcissists and they want power. If I was going to describe San Francisco, I would say it's actually like center-left authoritarian. Kind of fascistic. Giant corporations running rampant, the government taxing people to oblivion, ridiculous progressive laws. None of it adds up other than the fact that the state is a nightmarish technocratic dystopia that flickers both towards the pro-corporate massive corporation and the insane progressive laws. It is the worst of everything. So, I hate California. I can't believe people live there, man. I'm actually thinking about moving to the sticks out in the middle of nowhere, finding a good backhaul line, getting 2 gigabit internet, just building my own house, wherever I want. But anyway, that's the point. I'll end with this. It is said that California is our future. I certainly hope not, but I think it is. People say that, you know, everything California does, we do, like the rest of the country sweeps up a few years later. I think it's fair to say that's true. We'll see what happens, though. They didn't expect Trump to win, and he won. Trump's probably going to win again. Trump Jr. will probably win in 2024. Who knows? We'll see. But California, no, I think it's fair to say it's not communist, man. It's the worst of everything. It's authoritarian narcissists who control whatever little fiefdom they have, and they expand it to the worst possible ultimate outcome. The government is insane, and the corporations are insane, and they're both running rampant and doing insane things. So it's the worst of everything. Call it whatever you want. I will call it an oligarchic dystopia. Yeah, whatever. Stick around. I got a couple more segments coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.